website has been launched. We don't want to lose our group and we want to do something for the institute. That's how the Exceed has been formed. And again, he has worked on the timetable module. I hope many of you are using it, and it has drastically reduced lot of workload for the faculty as well. So wherever we want to have any kind of front end suggestion in any project, I will always go to him. And through this batch of students only, we have started this foundation elective. During that time, they have taught around 90 students. Maybe your seniors and super seniors are taught by them in both the semesters. So hopefully today's session will be useful for all of you. And in fact, if you look at the Exceed login page, there is a kind of animation which is there, which is done by Gautam only. And actually, we want you people to learn such animations so that irrespective of the project, you will be able to do it and make use of it. So, with this introduction, I would like to Gautam to take over. And thank you once again, Gautam, for giving you your time for the students. Hopefully, all of you will make use of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such nice words, and yeah, thank you for actually describing all the history. It also brings back a lot of memories. So yeah, that's there, and actually it was a great thing. So we were all doing it in in a way that we were just enjoying the process, and in the process we made something better. And it's today we are actually seeing the club in action. So it is good that it is still going on for actually. Sir, is it the third batch, right? I
Yes,
think
yes.
yeah,
It's a
it's
third year
third batch. So
basically.
yeah, that's a great thing actually. So it's I will consider this as a achievement and success for the club. To be honest, yeah, yeah. So yeah, thanks for the
Yeah.
introduction, sir. So should we start the session?
Yes, I think around 33 students have joined. Like others will join in sometime. You can start.
Sure, sir. Okay. ठीक है तो hello everybody, as sir already explained. So I am Gautam Singla, and let me just start with a little quiz, little introduction to you guys. So how many of you actually heard about Figma? So do you have any introduction to Figma? What is it? So if you have, you can react with the button down below, or you can just raise your hand if you have heard about Figma, just heard the name of Figma. Okay, just two students. Okay, I would have expected a little bit more numbers, so then it could be a little harder for me to communicate the starting of this session. Okay, not an issue. Yeah, so we will just go over the 5-minute introduction about what is Figma and how it works. So let me just share my screen so that we can get on point directly. Okay, yeah, so I'm sharing my screen. I hope it is visible. Yeah, okay, so let me just get into Figma. So basically, it is a design software where you will actually design, and basically it will give you an SVG output. SVG is a scalable vector graphics. So basically whatever images you see here, you can actually export it, and then it will be exported as a formula. So if I show you, this is SVG example. So this, if you see, so these are all the SVG images. So what happens is that all the things that are there in the SVG images are calculated using the it is calculated using the formulas, as you see over here, right? So everything is calculated in form of the formulas, and everything is basically scalable to at any dimensions we want. So it can be scaled to any dimensions we want. So SVG is not limited to just this screen. So if I zoom it in, I can zoom anyone, and I can zoom as much as I want, and it will not blur, because it is basically a formula, and as I zoom, then it will use the formula to make the image even bigger. Okay, so these are the things that we will be using over here, and this basically you can assume the Figma if you don't have a knowledge about it, how it works. So you can just assume it as a SVG editor. Okay, so this is just the SVG editor, and that is what the whole point of Figma is for this particular session. Although it is a bigger software, and it is capable of doing a lot more things than that, but for this session, for the sake of simplicity, let's just consider it as a vector editing software just to edit the SVGs. Okay, so yeah, So let me just get over like how what this session is about. So basically what we want to do is like we want to create some animations that basically we want to use on the website. So one of the animation you might have seen is this Exceed logo on the Exceed website. So this has been made using rive, and we made it as a fun project, me and Vanshika. So we were just fidgeting around with this logo, and then we made this animation. So yeah, it is so turned out good, and we are actually using it on the website these days. So yeah, that's a that's how it was when we were in the club and we were working about it. So this is one of that. And apart from that, again, one of the teachers from my department, ICE, contacted me last year, so a few months ago. So I created this animation for them. So there was an E2A con going on, so they wanted this logo animation for that. So this is also created using a much simpler software that I will come to at the end, because basically there are two things that I will be looking at today. So first is the rive is basically animation software for the web, where you can actually have the interactability as well. And then there is another software where you can create this kind of a gifs, where you can export it and use it anywhere. But rive is more particularly used when you want to use it for the websites. Okay, since we are actually you are having a course about the website and web development, so this is sort of one of the aspects that you can use the website to be. So for example, let me just show you the how the micro interactions will work. So this is a website that my friend is building right now. So if you see these elements, okay, just look at these elements when I refresh the page. So as you can see, so these elements animate into place, right? So these is what we call the micro interactions or micro animations. This is what we can build using this tools that I will teach you today. And what they do is that, as you can see here, so what they do is that they will enhance the appeal of this website, and it will increase the user convert rate, and it will as soon as the user gets on this website, they will feel better. And what this does is that it will increase the user experience, and it will be able to market the website in a better way. So that is how I was planning to do this session. And basically this is one of the aspects that is a part of the web development. So it's a good thing that you have a little bit of knowledge about it as well. So that is all this session is going to be about. Okay, so let me just go through this content of this contents of this session particularly. So what we will do is that we will try to recreate this particular animation for the Exceed logo, and we will not be able to replicate it as closely as this is, because there are some animation curves that basically cannot be replicated directly. So we will try to replicate it as much as possible, but it will not be the same. But I will show you the process so that you can make as many things as you want. Okay, so till now, does anybody have anything to say about it, or is there some confusion, or was I too fast? If I was, just let me know. Okay, I would assume that it was going good. So let us just move ahead. And for the first part, what we want is that we want this logo to be there. Okay, so animation is the second step. First step is you have to define how you want the animation to be, right? So for example, I want this as you can see, this logo is there. So I want just looking at this logo, what we can see is that there is this X logo is there. So in the X logo, you might have seen this code symbol very well. This code symbol is there. So there is this mark, and then there is a slash in between, right? So this kind of a code symbol you might have seen. So this is what I thought first seeing this logo. So what we can do here is that when we can move this X over here, and then we can have this here, and if we tilt this, then it can become a slash, right? So this is what we thought. So basically this could be the first frame for us, and then this could be the second frame for us, right? So basically what happens is that this one tilts and then converts itself into a slash. So yeah, so this is how it should look like. And then it basically this slash will combine, and basically they will come again to form a X. And when they do, then we can bring back the Exceed once again back to its place, so completing the cycle. And that is how it will be a looping animation as well. Okay, so basically it will be in such a way that it will loop as well, so it will be infinitely looping. So as you can see, this is a looping animation. Looping animation, you have to think like one step more key how the elements will come back to the initial phase. Okay, so the creativity, the process, first step, that is the most important step, I would say, because these tools are basically for the it is an extension of your creativity. So these tools are just for the sake of that, this whatever is in your mind, you should be able to use it to create these things inside the tools. So it is not like you have to learn the tools thoroughly. It should be able to just create the tools as use the tools to create anything that is in your mind. Okay, so I think somebody is raising their hand. So is it do you want to say something, Abhilaksh? Okay, is it something that you want to say, Abhilaksh? Okay, I would assume not. Okay, so let me just go ahead and try to recreate let's try to recreate this application. So once you sign up to Rive, you will see this kind of a landing page. You can use these tools to actually learn through that. Okay, one thing I would like to mention is that this is one of the software that you can use to create this kind of animation, but the more professional software and more complex software as well is the actual Adobe After Effects. So this is the actual software that is used by professionals to create this kind of things, but this is like a small scale version of that, and it can be used to create the things that we want to build for the web. So basically this software is not up to the mark to actually the professional standards, but you can consider it to be a very handy version where we can do 95% of the things, right? So that is there. Okay, just to mention that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the homepage of the Rive, and one thing that you will see here is that there are very interactive elements. For example, this, if you see this button in the top right corner, if you hover it, so there is a cat that will try to hold your cursor, and if you go back, then it will try to hold your cursor as well, and it will basically get around and try to catch your cursor, right? So this kind of a thing as well you can build with the Rive. So that is there. And apart from that, if you hover over this button, it will be converted into a rocket. So you can use this rocket to basically they are saying that, yeah, get started, so they are converted into a rocket. So it works as a button as well, and it works as a animation as well. So it increases the user interest in the website, and maybe the conversion rate is higher. Okay, so most of these websites are for the marketing purposes, and if the conversion rate is higher, it is better for the company and all the stakeholders. Okay, so once we build a similar animation for the launch of the website as well. When we were trying to launch the website, so there we created some thing, the similar button according to this. Yeah, so this is the one. So we created similar button. So what happens is that if you start this, okay, so if you hover over it, then it will the rocket will start to spin. If you don't, then it is just it will just basically the elements will glow and twinkle like this, stars. And if you hover over it, then it will start to rotate the rocket, and if you click on it, then it will launch the rocket. So this is how we published the website then when we were completed with the website of the institute. So we had a first page, and then we had this button as a very big image, very big button over there, and the director sir came, and then they click on the button. So these kind of things that you can do with Drive. So basically I've just giving you examples like how you can use it in your projects, or to make your websites better. Okay, so let's just start with the process. And okay, so first what you will do is once you create a Rive, once you create an account on the Rive, so what you have to do is you will see this kind of a dashboard. You will not see the recent files, but you will see this learn Rive. You can use these files. These are pre-built templates that you can use to learn Rive. But once you are here, you have to just click on the new file button. Okay, so once you click the new file button, it will create a new file for you, and it will ask you for the dimensions. Generally I like to go on a little bit higher side to make the quality a little bit better. So let's just go with the 900. Okay, and I think you can see the keystrokes on the bottom left corner. So if you have any doubts what are the keyboard shortcuts I'm using, you can look into the bottom left corner of the screen. Okay, and also I'm recording this session, so afterwards as well it will be might be available, but I'm not sure if it will work or not. In just starting the recording just a little bit earlier only, so I'm not sure about that. Let me just check if it is recording or not. Yeah, it is recording, but yeah, let's see if it is working or not. So yeah, okay, So this is it will just create a frame for us that we can use to animate the stuff, and basically this will the final frame for us. So in this animation that we see over here, actually it does not have any frame. Okay, so the frame is actually transparent so that it can be blended with the background. So that is how I created it back then. But for this, let's just have a little bit of a frame in place, and let's just make the color a little bit darker. Okay, this is just a this is just a basic settings. So there are two things over here that we have to take care about it. So basically there is a design tab and there is an animation tab. Okay, in the design tab, what you can do is you can control the properties of it, you can control the color, you can control the padding margins, you can control the height width of this. So this is the basic stuff you can control over here. And then when you go to the animation tab, you can create the animation and whatever is there, how the animation and how the element should move and all. So that is there. Okay, so now what we need is that we need the logo in place. Okay, so I have already exported this file and it is in my file explorer. So what you can do is that you can go to the assets tab, and in this we will add an image. Okay, so we can add this image right here. Okay, so once you add this image, then it will be shown over here in the assets tab. So you can drag and drop it on the canvas. Okay, so once you do that, as you can see, it is not in place, but we can drag and drop, and with the grids it will be aligned to the canvas. Okay, so now I don't want this background. So what you can do is you can click on it and then you can double click on it. Then you will see that this is the background of it, and you can remove this background. So I don't want that because we already have a artboard. Okay, so just to make the thing simple, so we can do that. And what we can do next is that we will try to let's bring these elements out first. Okay, so this is already in a group, so we don't want that because we already have a containing artboard as well. So we don't want a group over here. So what we can do is we can ungroup it. To ungroup, we will use a shortcut that is a command shift and G. For the basically Windows, it will be control shift and G. I'm on a MacBook, so I will be doing that. So you can mostly assume that a command will communicate to the control, and the option will be basically the alt key. Okay, that's there. Okay, so moving on. So what we will do next is that we will try to rename these layers, because these are actually we will not be able to understand it later. So let's just rename and group them collectively so that we have something to work with. Okay, so let's just look at it. Okay, this is the one, this is the one. Okay, this is this particular border over here, then we have this, then we have this. Okay, this is all linked to a particular greater than sign, or you can say the left half of the X logo. Okay, so I will group all of these into a group, so using the control G. Okay, so it will be grouped, and I can rename this by double clicking it into the greater than sign so that it can be shown as a first part of the X logo. Okay, then moving on, this is the second part of the X logo. As we can see, these three communicate to the second part of the X logo. We can make it like this. Okay, then this is the D. I'm just renaming the files. Okay, that's nothing much has been done right now, so I'm just renaming the files. This is just basic stuff. Okay, so that it can be easier for us to communicate later. So this is the E. Let's just
Gautam, sorry to interrupt.
yes sir.
Gautam, one small doubt. Like when you import this exceed, no, like even if we import a simple image, can be able to make it as a different frames, or it has to be done only through Figma and Canva images will work, something like that.
Sir, it has to be an SVG. SVG
Like
can
this
be
exceed
exported.
one when you import.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the thing is that the only important thing over here is that it should be an SVG. SVG, as I already explained, is a scalable vector graphics. So it has to be an SVG. So if it is an SVG, then it will have all these parts separately, and then whenever you import an SVG, it will be shown like that only. So even if
Okay.
you import it from anywhere else, like not even Figma, any other software that is able to render the vectors, so you will be able to see it as a separate parts only.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Fine.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just rename this part so that it is easier for us to use it later, because if we don't do that, it will quickly become very unmanageable. Okay, so E to T, just E second E and top part. Okay, that is what I'm doing. And then this is the E to M. then this is the C, then this is the E1 bottom, then this is the E1 top, okay, then this is the E1 middle, okay. Yeah, so this is how it does, and let's just group all of these as well. Okay, I'll just control G to group the logos. I will just name it seed, okay, like that. So now let's just go to the animation part. We are already done with the design part because we have done it in Figma. One small thing that we can do here is that let's just add a subtle gradient in the background so that it is a little more interesting than this. So let's just use a radial gradient and we will add it to the center of it, okay, so that it originates from the center, and let's just make it very light, so it's just a very subtle gradient like this, and we can make it 1 1 1, okay, and from here we can make it 2 2 2, right. So this is how it looks, just a very subtle gradient, just to create a little bit of interest over there. So yeah, so now let's move to the animation part. So this is a little bit of a complex part. I will just I will require your attention here. Please try to listen it and try to grasp the things a little better. So there is two things over here, that is the state machine and the timeline. Okay, state machine, you can think of it as a main function of CPP. If any of you knows about the C++ language. So if there is a C++ language, this is a very basic program of a C++ language, right? So the main important thing is that there is always a main function. So main function is a function that starts everything. So here is where the code will start, and then it will start to go one by one from here, right? So this is how is basically you can relate to the state machine over here. So state machine is basically the main function of the rive. So whatever is in the state machine will be called firstly. So as you can see, entry is there, and then it will call the timeline 1. So timeline 1 is the thing that we have to focus on, right? So timeline 1 is the thing that we have to focus on, and in the timeline 1 what we will do is that we will see all the frames and we will define all the keyframes over here. So what is a keyframe? Just for the just for technical definition, the keyframe is basically the you can say it is okay, just a second, like mode, yeah, okay. So yeah, so basically the keyframe is basically the first time that at a particular spot how the element will look like, okay, that is a keyframe. So basically it is a snapshot of the element in a particular time frame, right? So that is I hope I was try to communicate that well. So let me just show you by an example actually that is not directly understandable. So what happens is that, for example, we want to move this particular element from here to here. So what we will do is that we will first have to mark its position at the starting. So we have to tell the software that this is where it will start and this is where it will end. Okay, so for that what we have to do is we will click on this particular element, and then we will mark its X position. To do that, what we will do is, as you can see, there is a small diamond logo over here, that is for the keyframe. Okay, so if you click on it, then you click on this diamond logo. As you can see in the timeline, the position is marked. If you expand it, then it will show you that the position is marked to be this particular value. Okay, so what now we can do is that we can move it a few frames ahead. For example, we move it 10 frames, okay, and then we can again move this particular element to the desired position that we want using the arrows that are given. Okay, so for example, I want to move it over here. Okay, so now the software knows that this position this is where the element should be after 10 frames. So what this does is that if you now use scribble over here, so you will see, yeah, so this is how the element will animate. Okay, so this is the most basic animation we have already done. Okay, so this is the most basic animation. So I hope this was clear. Okay, this is the concept of keyframes, and if you expand it, you will see that whole through this value is changing, and it is animating from a particular 182 position to the 730 position. So this is how animation works. You just have to define the starting point, you have to define the ending point, and in the between you can also define how it will go. So that we will come later, but basically this is the most basic animation that we can think of it. Okay, So up till this point, I hope there are no doubts. If there is, then I can go over the stuff as well. So if there are any doubts, please raise your hand, or you can write it in the chat as well. You can also turn on your mic and ask the things if there is anything. Okay, ठीक है. Okay, I'll assume that there are no doubts. Let me just move ahead. Okay. Remember guys, there will be an assignment at the end as well, so you have to replicate these steps. So please, take care that you are getting the things that I'm saying. Okay. Yeah, so moving on, what we have to do is we have to we have already moved this point over here, but we want to move these two as well over there, and it should happen simultaneously. So what we will do is that we will select both of these elements and mark the x position of this as well. Okay, and when we go to the 10th frame, we will again move these two elements out of the way so that they are not covering each other, like so. And let's just try to center it as well. Okay, now it is centered. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, so now as you can see, now a very basic animation is done where we are moving the x points apart from each other, and then we are moving this to the center. Okay, so now the next step is that if you see in the animation, so yeah, so now the next step is that, so once it moves there, then it should rotate and it should create the slash. Okay, so let's do that. So for that, just as a thinking process, I'll just go over the steps. What we have to do is we have to rotate it, right? So for the rotation, what we want is ki this particular element should know its starting point as a rotation, so we have to key its starting point. Okay, so we will key its rotation. Okay, so at this particular point we mark this position and rotation as well. Okay, so as we know its rotating point at this particular point, then we will move a few frames ahead over here, and then we will try to rotate it. Okay, so let's just rotate it this much. If you want to rotate it to a particular angle that you can create by holding the shift key, and if you do that, then it will move at the increments of 45 degrees like this. Okay, let's just move it at the 45-degree angles. Okay, now it is at the 45-degree angle. So now if we play the animation again, okay, see, now it's rotating after that. So one thing is that if you don't key the position of rotation at that particular point, for example, you don't key the position over here. Okay, let me just remove this position over here. So if you do that, then what happens is that it will start to rotate from the starting itself. Okay, or it will not return because it does not have any starting point. So it just knows that this is where I want to reach. So if you key the position over at this point, if you do that, and if you set it to 0, okay, so now it will start to rotate from the starting itself. That we don't want, because we want this to form that particular code structure over here, and then after that we want to rotate it. So we have to move this key point to this particular 10th frame. After that it should after that it should rotate. Okay, so I think yeah, that is clear. Let's move ahead. So one thing that we want to do again is that we want to hide this D and C and the top and bottom part of the E's. Okay, and that should start at this point itself. So what we will do is that we will key the position, we will key the opacity of these things at this particular point. So for doing that, we will expand this group and we will find this. Okay, so this is a C, and see now this is where the naming comes in handy. So we know that we want to key the C and D, and we want to key the bottom and top parts of the E, so we can just select them by the naming. So that is why naming is very important. And now we can key the opacity, that is over here. So when you key the opacity, now you have the opportunity to go ahead at the 20th point, and then you can make the opacity 0. Okay, so once you do that, so let's just try to see what the animation is looking like right now. Let me just reduce the speed as well. This is a speed control that you can go get from here. If you want to extend the duration as well, you can do that from here as well, or you can just drag the slider and then it will increase as well. Okay, so let me just make it 0.2 so that it is visible. Okay, yeah, I think that is pretty good for now. Okay, so now what we want is that we want these things to come back a little bit, so that they actually make a, like, proper symbol. And since, like, at this point it is a very very far away, so what we can do is at this particular point, after that we can, like, move the position in a little bit. Okay, so for doing that, one thing more that we have to do is we want to scale it as well. Okay, so this is a very small slash, we want to make it larger. So for doing that, what we can do is we can go to the exceed group again, we can key the scaling of it. Okay, so we will key the scaling of it and we will scale it in both the directions x and y. We will just scale it, like, similarly in both the direction x and y, so it is just basically a size bump, you can say. So if you go over here, then let's just scale it to 150 in the x-axis as well as the y-axis. Okay, so now it's looking a little bit better. Okay, yeah, so that's there. And I think, yeah, so that's half part of the animation, you can say, is done. And moving on, what we can do is, okay, so now that is the step that we have completed. And let me just go to the animation that we already have in place. Okay, so this is the one. Yeah, let's just review this, like, how the things are moving over here. So as you can see, so once the logo gets over there, then it will rotate and it will make a thing like this. Okay, and after that it will come back and basically collapse into each other. So this is the part that we will work on now. Okay, so we want to collapse it and we want to scale this particular slash to nothing. Okay, so we want to scale this particular slash to 0%, and we want to move the x parts to the center. Okay, that is the next step. So you can open multiple tabs as well in the rive editor. Okay, so now we want to scale it back to 0. So we already have the scaling key over here, and at this particular point, let's move it to the 30th frame. Okay, and at this point we want to scale it back to 0. Okay, so let's just scale it back to 0. And okay, at this point we also have the angle in place. Let's just not mess with the angle here, but we will get to the angle a little bit later. Okay, so let's just make this 0% at this point. Okay, 0 and 0. Okay, so now it is basically disappeared. And simultaneously what we want to do is that we want to move this particular parts of the x in place. Okay, so what we will do is that we will key the position of this at this point, and then we will come back to this 30th frame, then we will move it back to the center. Okay, and then we will move this back so that it makes up a x. Okay, and then let's try to make it in center. Okay, not in the center now. Let me just try to move it to the center. Yeah, so now it's in center. Okay, a little bit farther away. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, now it is fine. Okay, so if let's just try to play the animation. Yeah, now something is wrong, I guess, because we did not key the position. Yeah, so we did not key the position of x, this one, or at this point. So we want to have this same position over here as well. So what we can do is we can copy this particular frame and then we can move it to the 20th frame, and then we can paste it over here, so it will key the position here as well. So that is actually the good point of rive. You can copy the keyframes as well. So once you copy the keyframes, then this knows that, yeah, this is the position that we want to maintain at this particular point as well. So this will maintain the same position, and then if you go over there, then it will create the x. Okay, yeah, so now basically the final part of the animation is left, that is basically moving it back into place and then basically bringing the things back into place. Okay, so that is the only thing left. So at this point what we will do is that we want to rotate the seed logo back, and that's why we will key the angle of that. Okay, and then we will come back to the 40th position, and then we will reset everything. Okay, so to do that, just make it 0 and just make the scaling to be 100%. Okay, we just want to revert everything back. Okay, so we will just make the scaling to 100%. Okay, we will make the scaling to 100% like that, and then we will bring back the positioning as well. So to bring back the positioning, what we can do is we can move this particular key Okay, move this particular key and then we can move it to the 40th frame like so. Okay, then it will bring back to the original position, and same thing we will do for this one and for the access, part of the parts of the axis. So we will move this over here and then we will paste it over here, and that will bring back the things. Okay, and now we have to bring back the opacity of these elements that we hidden. So to do that, just copy these frames and then come back to the 40th frame and then just paste it over here, and now we have the looping animation. Okay, yeah. So now one thing that I can see is wrong over here is with the seed logo. So it is not moving it in place. As you can see, the positioning is not right because we did not, yeah, so we did not key the position of the x-axis. Okay, so we need to key it here as well, so it needs to be same for this. Okay, after that also it needs to be same, and at the end it will move. Yeah, so now it is fine. Okay, yeah, so that is good, but the elements are actually getting out very early. So what we will do is we will copy all these frames, that is the hidden part of the parts that we don't want to see, so we will paste it over here. Okay, and then after that, once it appears, then it will all merge into place. Yeah, okay, so that's how we want the animation to be, and let's just loop it as well. Okay, so the looping setting, it is over here. So if you click on this, then it will loop, and we can shrink the timeline for this one. Okay, because it is a smaller animation, we can shrink the timeline and then we will loop after this. We can reduce the time. Okay, so after that 40 seconds it will loop again. Right, so we have created a looping animation, but as you can see, this is looking very very plain. So the actual animation that is there, it is looking very very the bouncy effect is there, everything is there, it is coming out as a bouncy thing. So all that is controlled using curves. Basically you can say the animation, how it flows. So how the interaction will be. Basically what happens is that we have to see as you can see in here, there is a position. Okay, so position keyframe is there 1 and 2. So in this particular frame, how it will move from this frame to this frame, that is basically the interpolation. Okay, so interpolation we need to change. So to do that, we have to go to the interpolation setting over here, and as you can see, everything is quite linear over here, right? So it is just a straight line. So if you play it over here, then what will happen is it will change a very in a very very simple way, just it will move the things around. But if you play with this curve around, then what will happen is that you can actually shift this curve around. So if you do that, then what will happen is that it will move in a more interesting manner, and it will try to emulate that curve. So let me just show you. Okay, so for example, what we can do is just close this mode, and let's just select this particular frame. Okay, so this particular frame handles this how from here to here it will go. Okay, so as you can see on my right hand side, there is an interpolation graph. So right now it is a linear graph, right? So x is equal to y axis. Okay, so that is how it is right now, but we don't want it to be that, because this is a very linear graph, so it will move in a very very plain manner. So it will not show any kind of basically it will not be like a lifelike structure. So it is a very very robotic feel. It has a very very robotic feel to it, so we don't want that. To change that, what we can do is we can click on this particular button, so it will give us a cubic curve. So if you do that now, just doing that particular click has made the animation a little more mature. So if you see over here, so yeah, so as you can see, it starts with a very slow pace in the starting, and then it fast goes fast in the end. So that is all done by this particular cubic curve. Okay, so now what we can do to even enhance the functionality of this is that, so we can play with it. Okay, so what we can do is, so if you change this particular handle, so how will it work is that when you go from this point to this point, okay, so as you can see now the frames are moving very fast, and then it will overshoot the position, and then it will come back to its particular position. Okay, so this will give it a springing effect. It will give it a spring effect, so it looks nice in animation. So if you try to play it, So see, it will go to like a little bit overshoot position, then it will come back to its original position. So it gives us a springing effect. That is all done by the interpolation. Okay, so instead of that, if you don't want to do that, you it is a easier approach. If you want to go by the not the easier approach but the longer approach, if you want to go that way, what you have to do is you actually have to define another keyframe over here that will overshoot the position, and then it will come back to its original position. Okay, that's another approach that you can take, but it is always better to use an interpolation curve. Although it is a I will agree that this is a little bit of a difficult thing to grasp at first, but if you play with it, just move the handles around, then you will try to understand it, how what is going on and how it is going on. So it's not that difficult thing, but you just have to be a little more interested in this, so to understand the things that how it is going on. Okay, so let's just try to interpolate a little bit more so that it looks good. Okay, I'll try to make it short because I have another tool that I want to show to you. Okay, so if you go over there, yeah, so now it's quite interesting animation. If you see over here, yeah, so firstly it will go back to its position, then it will overshoot its position. So first it will undershoot its position, and then it will overshoot its position as well. So as you can see over here, so there is a very light line over here. As you can see, I don't know if it is visible on the screen or not, but there is a very I will say very dim line over here that let me just try to capture a screenshot and show it to you. Okay, so in this particular one, not able to zoom, just a second, open the finder. Okay, screenshots, this is the one. Yeah, so in this one, so what happens is that if you zoom in this, okay, not able to zoom, yeah, okay, yeah, so as you can see, there is a very dim line. Okay, that is the starting point of it, and if your curve goes down this line, then it will undershoot, and if your curve goes up this line, then it will overshoot. Okay, and the smoothness of going up and going down, that will control how the element will perform in the end or start. Okay, and the in between is where the element will be transitioning through the animation. So that is how the interpolation curve works. Okay, it is a little bit of a complex process, but not nothing like you cannot learn. Okay, so that's there. That was just intro of that. Okay, so let me just try to copy this animation. You can also copy this animation. So if you can go here, so you can just copy all these animations and just copy this animation. Okay, and let's just select everything and put it over here. Okay, let me just make it a little bit bigger to make it easier for me. If we select all these keyframes, and then we can apply the same interpolation over here as well. I hope so it is working. Oh sorry, yeah, so here we can apply this, and then it will apply the same thing for everything. Okay, so it will now undershoot its position and overshoot its position as well. Okay, yeah, so that's there. You can fine tune the animations, and in the final one that you see here, actually it was fine tuned a lot, but we were having fun for it, and this is just demo session, so you can go ahead and tweak it as you like. Okay, so let's just see how it is working. Yeah, so it's quite little bit more interesting than before. So it can be controlled in a lot of ways. So if you want to have this a particular part to be slower, then you can increase the keyframes between it, and if you do that, then it will take a little bit longer time, so that it will have a little bit more lag. So for example, I want to see this X logo to be a little bit longer. I want this X logo to stay a little bit longer over at this point. So what I can do is that as you can see, yeah, so this point I want it to be a little bit longer to stay at this point. So I can just copy these keyframes from this point, and I can make it at 35 as well. Okay, and I can increase the duration, so I can increase it to 60 or 50 is fine. Okay, so if you do that, then you can move these points again a little bit further. So if you do that, then it will be able to restrain its positions a little bit longer. Okay, so that is how I was saying, you can copy this keyframe, then you can change it a little bit if you want to overshoot or undershoot the position. Okay, So now if we play that, then the X logo will stay for a little bit longer, then it will again come back to this. So you can tweak the positioning of these keyframes to change the duration of the elements and how they perform in the animation. So yeah, so that is what this is about. So this is the basic tutorial of rive, you can say. And if you want to learn more about it, so these are the tutorials that I would go to. Okay, so this is the channel. Yeah, so this is the channel design course. So they are having a lot of tutorials for the rive. So if you do that, then you can go over here and you can learn about rive as much as you want. And there are a few tutorials, and if you still don't like these ones, then you can go to the rive official website, and then you can official learn from here as well. Okay, so they are also having a lot of good tutorials. And apart from that, what you can do is that you can go to the rive homepage and you will see some practice files. You can clone these files and you can open it up, and there will be some things that you can learn from here as well. Okay, so now I have just told you a very basic bare minimum of rive, but it is actually a way more powerful software than this, because as I said in the title of this session as well, so this is for the web. Okay, so you can customize this state machine, you can have inputs over here. So if you want to trigger something, so you can trigger it, and then you can have some listeners. So if the listener can be for the particular one. So for example, this listener, for this listener, so we want it to be clickable. So you can click over it, and then it will be able to perform according to that particular click. Okay, so let me just show you the example as well. So if you see, this is the no, not this one, so this is the one. Okay, so this is one of the tutorials from this particular guy that I showed you, the designcourse.com. so that guy has this particular tutorial, and in this itself, so we have seen this there is a state machine tutorial. So if you this idle animation plays after the entry point, and then you can add some more any state. So the states you can add, and then you can add it to the click, and once you click it, then it should fire up like this. So it can do this, and then after flying, so you can change it to flying like this, and then idle state is like this. Okay, so you can make it maybe to the space bar input, or you can make it to the hover input. So anything you can do. Okay, and there is another thing in the rive. There is a community as well, so you can pick up the files from there as well. So the button that I showed you in the starting, for the website launch that I showed you in the starting, so that button actually was picked up from the community files itself. So we just tweaked it according to our preferences. I think it was a blue button, so we just changed the color to the red one, and we use it directly. Okay, so there are if you search button, maybe you will find the same one. I think this is the one. No, this is another one. So basically, yeah, as you can see, so there is a hover interaction that the person has put on here. So if the click interaction is not there, but the hover interaction is there definitely. And if you see, it is following the cursor as well. So this is very easy to do in rive. So you can just go through tutorials on the official rive the YouTube channel, or you can go through the design course YouTube channel, and there are a lot of tutorials for the rive. And also they have shown how we will integrate to the particular web page as well. So there are different SDKs available for it. So there are official SDKs for rive. So basically it is available for all the major front-end frameworks like the React, Vue, Angular, everything is available, and you can use those to integrate to the actual your website that you want to use. So this was actually integrated using this same thing as well. So once you do that, you can for example, this file is there, right? So you can go to the export menu, and you can export this file, export it, and you can export it for the runtime or for the backup. So we export it for the runtime, and then we can use it directly for over there. This logo will definitely come, because this is for the free version. If you want a paid version, then only this logo will go away. But yeah, it's not a big deal. The animation is a bigger part, so nobody actually noticed this logo. Okay, yeah, so moving on, this was actually the complex one tool. But if you actually want to create very minimal interactions with it, so there is another tool that is a jitter.video. Okay, so it is a very minimal tool that you can use to create it, and I will not go through the process of this, but I will show you what the animation similar animation that I created with it for the logo. Okay, let me just try to show it to you. and you just have to sign in using your GitHub, using your Google account or just a simple email and password. And the best part about Jitter is that you can directly copy the files from your Figma. So there is an extension in Figma, for example. Let me just select this, and there is an extension. Okay, so this is the extension button, and if you click over here, then this is extension, that is a Jitter extension. So what this does is that is allows you to copy this frame directly to the Jitter. Okay, so if you copy this, and now everything is copied in Jitter, and what I can do is I can create a new file. Okay, and I can paste it over here. So once I do that, so see, everything from the Figma file is over here, and I can directly use it. Okay, and if you don't like that, you can actually create the things in Jitter as well. So you can use this rectangle tool, you can use this circle, star, or everything, like whatever you want, you can use it over here, and then you can create the things as much as you like it. But Figma is a much better software to do this kind of things, so I prefer Figma. And since the important functionality is already there, so yeah, doesn't make much of a difference in that sense. And this is an animation, I try to create the same animation that we try to do it in Rive, but it is much easier in this one. So if I play this, okay, so as you can see, there are more interesting designs over here that are going on. Let me just loop through it as well. So it is also a looping animation. Okay, yeah, so there are, as you can see, there are more interesting animations that are going on here. Like for example, this how it blurs out, as well as fades out, and it does it in a flickering manner. So it's so easy to do in this. Let me just show you how I done this. See, scale and blur out. Okay, not this one, for this particular one. Yeah, let's see over here. So see, so this particular one. Okay, so this is what I did, and see, this is basically very easy over here. So as you can see, we in the Rive, we try to play with the interpolation curves. So here you don't even have to do that, so you can do it there are already pre-built animations that you can use. Interpolation curves are there. Can you mute your mic, please? Who is it? Vinny Taluwalia. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, so for example, this is there are already things are in place, and you can just click over it, and then it will work according to that. Okay, so I have just used this bouncy animation to make it flicker. So it's so easy to do it in this one. And if you want to make it a little bit more aggressive, you can actually tweak it from here. So basically this is much easier than Drive. And if you want to do these kind of things that I showed you in this particular website that my friend is building right now, so in this as you can see, these all animations that are here is all created using jitter.video. Okay, so all these animations are created using jitter.video. And yeah, everything you see over here, everything all the minimal animations, all the micro interactions are all created using the jitter.video. Yeah, everything. Okay, so this animation, so everything is created using jitter.video, and all the animations, all the elements were designed in Figma obviously, but the things were done in the jitter.video, right? So everything was done over here. And you can after that, as I showed you in the Rive, so it will export its own instance only. So it will export the .rive file, but here when you export it, then you can be exporting it as a GIF as well. So you can export it as a video as well, so you can use it anywhere. So Rive is actually limited to just being used on the web, but this can be used in any way you want to use it. You can send it on WhatsApp, you can create it as a lottie file, so that is much more optimized for the web. And then you can use a video, you can give it as a GIF as well. And this pro is actually they are also having this student program. So if you sign up with a student ID, then you can also get their student discount, and you can actually get all these things for free as well. So there is that thing, you can explore that thing. And my friend has that. So the one person that is building this particular site, he has this student account, so he can export as much things as he wants and in the highest resolution as he wants. Okay, so that's the thing. And so see, that is the final animation that we have. And so this was about the session. So we have explored how to create this animation in Rive as well as in Jitter. So Jitter you can explore yourself. So basically This was just like introduction to the rive tool, and that is just like you can say it is a very very starting of the animation journey of yours if you want to get into it. So the next step will be to learn about things like After Effects, or going to the tutorials of the designcoach.com, or the rive Rive's official YouTube channel itself, or playing around with jitter.video and trying to animate things over here. Okay, so if you want to get into this, then you can do things like this. Yeah. So if you have anything to discuss, or if you have anything that I must go over again, so you can tell it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. You can also unmute yourself and come around. So yeah, we can discuss things. Hello guys, I hope this session was not that boring. So yeah, if if you have any doubts, or if you will understand something, so you can actually react with some reactions over here, so that I can know that not everybody is sleeping around, right? Okay, Prashant, what are you doing here, Prashant? You shouldn't be here, Prashant. Cool. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think okay. I'm gonna assume you learned something today. So if you did, then try to recreate this. And there is something that I have that you can use. So I have this logo that I created a while back. It is not being used by any company right now, so you can freely use it. Although a version of it is being used, but you can freely use it. Yeah, nothing like that. So this is the logos. So if you want to try out your imagination in Rive or using jitter.video, you can use this logos directly and try to recreate it. Okay, so how do I share this file? Okay, how do I share this file? Okay, let me put it in a GitHub. Okay, let me just create a new issue that will be able to do that. New issues. Okay, I'll just drag the file over here. Okay, so we have the link of this file. Yeah, you can use this trick if you want sometimes. Okay, you can go ahead and mess with this file if you want. And basically this is the svg file, and you can download it just use the control s to save it, and then it will be saved as an svg file. And then you can use it in Figma, or you can just directly import it into Rive or jitter.video. And if you do that, then you will be able to see the individual elements that are in there, and then you can animate this as you like. So just explore your creativity. Okay, so this can be your assignment as well, so that will be discussed by Hari sir. I don't have the right to give you an assignment. Okay, so yeah, so basically Hari sir will give you the assignment, or whatever whoever is teaching you, so that will give you the assignment. Okay, so is Hari sir over there? So they will communicate about the assignment or everything. Okay, so thank you for having me. I think yeah, thank you for this giving your time, and I hope you learned a little bit more. And yeah, if you have anything to discuss, then the bento link is already shared, so it includes all my socials. So if you want to reach out, then you can reach out through there. Okay, thank you everybody.